Good morning, gang. It's Friday morning. God is on the throne and prayer changes things. That's the way Brother Hutchins used to kick off the show for the Southwest Radio Church. Greetings, friends. God's on the throne and prayer changes things. Oh, I spent many a Saturday afternoon driving in my truck or driving on the road wherever I was going and listening to Brother Noah Hutchins out of Oklahoma City on the Southwest Radio Church. I enjoyed it. Yes, I did. And he's absolutely right. God is on the throne and prayer does change things. For you regulars, you see, everybody can see that I didn't shave this morning. And it's one of those deals where my face hurts too bad. I've cut it up too bad to shave. I have to let it rest a few days. I tell you, we've gone through this before. If I didn't look so bad in a beard, I'd just let it grow. But I guess my vanity is superseding my comfort, because after a few days I go, ugh, and I shave. But, we all have our burdens to bear, don't we? I mean, I'm not on the streets of Calcutta starving to death, passing out tracts written in Hindi that Jesus is God, the Son of God, like some of our brothers are. And I'm not getting boiled in oil. I'm not getting sawn in half. That's how we have to come back to earth sometimes, when we have our complaints and we have our issues. And trust me, friends, as you get older, you got issues. I mean, hair grows where it's not supposed to grow, like right out of the top of your nose and things like that. You got aches and pains in places that you were unaware of before you didn't even know they existed, and you hurt there. Well, it's just part of the deal. My dear old friend Beth McConnell now, Beth Green, when we were in school, I think she was the youngest of us. Today was her birthday. She became 70 years old, becomes 70 years old today. Although I have an uncle who says she's 71 today, because he never could agree with the idea that when you're born, you're zero. You're in your first year, so you ought to be one. Well, when you have your 70th birthday, you're really 71 because you're in your 71st year. I don't think he's in a majority on that. But no, happy birthday, Beth, my old friend. Chapter 30 of the book of the prophet Isaiah, I think we will finish today. And since I've preached this now for a couple of weeks, I'm not going to put in very many comments on the way to the last 3 verses. Maybe we will finish today. It's been a long chapter. I've learned that if I don't read the entire chapter up to the point where we're at, I've learned that the viewership drops off. I think people get lost. So even if it takes 5 minutes, I think, or 3 minutes or whatever, I think we need to read every day. I think we need to read from the first of the chapter. And as you know, over the past several years, I've experimented with doing this both ways. And people seem to be the majority. More people seem to be happy with it this way. So that's the way I'll continue until either you or God shows me differently. Isaiah chapter 30, verse 1. Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me. Quick comment. Remember the chapter, if you just joined today. Chapter 30 is God reprimanding Judah and King Hezekiah through Isaiah the prophet because of his alliance with the empire of Egypt, trying to get the Egyptians to fight with him against the Assyrian army. And then it is a long and short short-term and long-term fulfillment of some hard times and some blessings, the greatest blessings to come during the millennial kingdom when Christ will reign from his throne. Good morning, Susie. Pastor Susie, God bless you. Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord. Verse 1, chapter 30, Isaiah. That take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. That walk to go down into Egypt, and have not asked at my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. For his princes were at Zoan, and his ambassadors came to Hanes. They were all ashamed of a people that could not profit them, nor be in help, nor profit, but ashamed, and also a reproach. The burden of the beasts of the south, into the land of trouble and anguish, from whence come the young and old lion, the viper and fiery flying serpent, that will carry their riches upon the shoulders of young asses, there it is, and their treasures upon the bunches of camels, to a people that shall not profit them. For the Egyptians shall help in vain, and to no purpose. Therefore have I cried concerning this, their strength is to sit still. Now go, write it before them in a table, and note it in a book, that it may be for the time to come, forever and ever, that this is a rebellious people, lying children, that will not hear the law of the Lord, which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things. Speak unto us smoothly. And they wanted that smoothly. I always say speak to us smoothly. It's speak to us smooth things. My old friend Rick, might get to see him this weekend. I sure hope so. I don't know when they're coming, but they're going to have to come sometime. Prophesy not unto us right things. Speak unto us smooth things. Prophesy deceits. Get you out of the way. Turn aside out of the path. Cause the Holy One of Israel to cease from before us. Wherefore thus saith the Holy One of Israel, because ye despise this word, and trust in oppression and perverseness, and stay thereon, therefore this iniquity shall be to you as a breach ready to fall, swelling out in a high wall, whose breaking cometh suddenly in an instant. And he shall break it as the breaking of the potter's vessel that is broken in pieces. He shall not spare, so that there shall not be found of it in the bursting of it a sherd to take fire from the hearth, or to take water withal out of the pit. Remember, this was filled in completion. Was filled in completion short term in 586 BC, and was fulfilled again longer term in 70 AD. First by the Babylonians, then by the Romans. Verse 15, for thus saith the Lord God, the Holy One of Israel, in returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. And ye would not. But ye said, no, for we will flee upon horses, therefore shall ye flee. And we will ride upon the swift, therefore shall they that pursue you be swift. 1,000 shall flee at the rebuke of one, and at the rebuke of 5 shall ye flee. Ye be left as a beacon upon the top of a mountain, and as an ensign on a hill. And therefore will the Lord wait, that he may be gracious unto you, and therefore will he be exalted, that he may have mercy upon you. For the Lord is a God of judgment. Blessed are all they that wait for him. For the people shall dwell in Zion and Jerusalem. Thou shalt weep no more. He will be very gracious unto thee at the voice of thy cry. When he shall hear it, he will answer thee. And though the Lord give you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, yet shall not thy teachers be removed into a corner any more. But thine eyes shall see thy teachers, and thine ears shall hear a word behind thee, saying, this is the way, walk ye in it. When you turn to the right hand and when you turn to the left, You shall defile also the covering of the graven images of silver, the ornament of thy molten images of gold. Thou shalt cast them away as a menstruous cloth. Thou shalt say unto it, Get thee hence. Then shall he give the rain of thy seed, that thou shalt sow the ground withal. And the bread of increase of the earth, and it shall be fat and plenteous in that day. Thy cattle shall feed in large numbers. He's talking about the crops and the livestock, the prosperity and the restoration, which happened in around 709 BC, which happened again around 500 BC, and which will happen, is happening again right now, and will happen completely and fully in the peaceable kingdom, in the millennial kingdom of our Lord Jesus Christ, which he is coming to establish here upon the earth. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. The oxen likewise, and the young asses that ear the corn shall eat clean provender, which hath been winnowed with the shovel and with the fan. There shall be upon every high mountain, upon every high hill, rivers and streams of waters, in the day of the great slaughter, when the towers fall. Moreover, the light of the moon shall be as the light of the sun, and the light of the sun shall be sevenfold, as the light of 7 days, in the day that the Lord bindeth up the breach of his people, and healeth the stroke of their wound. And we've talked about this. You can look in the last several days' programs. Facebook only keeps these for a few weeks, but we archive every program we archive on YouTube. So until I'm canceled by YouTube and, booted off their platform, which can happen, it might happen anytime, you never know. But if I get booted, then it'll just be gone. So learn it while you can. Verse 27, Behold, the name of the Lord cometh from far, burning with his anger, and the burden thereof is heavy. His lips are full of indignation, and his tongue a devouring fire. And his breath as an overflowing stream shall reach to the midst of the neck, and to sift the nations with the sieve of vanity. And there shall be a bridle in the jaws of the people, causing them to err. Ye shall have a song, as in the night when a holy solemnity is kept, in gladness of heart, as when one goeth with a pipe to come into the mountain of the Lord, to the mighty one of Israel. And the Lord shall cause his glorious voice to be heard, and shall show the lightning down his arm, with the indignation of his anger, with the flames of devouring fire and scattering and tempest and hailstones. I just want to read a couple of verses to talk about that time. That's going to be, of course, at the end of the Great Tribulation, right before and during the Battle of Armageddon. Because it's when the seventh vial is poured out upon the earth that these particular things happen. So that's how it sets the timing. We have the timing of this event from the book of Revelation. At the end, and this event in verse 30 will happen at the end of the Great Tribulation, right at the point of Jesus coming and defeating all the armies gathered against him at the Battle of Armageddon, and then regathering Israel and the tribulation saints who happen to not get killed, and the survivors of the nations that tried to help Israel during the Great Tribulation. That is what the sheep and goat judgment is all about. Matthew chapter 25. You can read that for yourself. I've covered it several times within the last month. I'm not going to take the time today because yesterday we got cut short. Now, I would have given you this yesterday, but remember the oxygen guy came and I had to go receive the stuff. I didn't know Velda was awake yet, and she was. And so, but I jumped off. I needed to go let the guy in. I didn't know if she was still in her 90 or what, so all you husbands know, that you need to take care of these things. Um, so uh, I was going to tell you about this seventh seal because see chapter 30. This is the pouring out of the seventh seal judgment. That is the timing right there. It says, "And the Lord shall cause his glorious voice to be heard, and shall show the lightning down on his arm, and with the indignation of his anger, with the flame of a devouring fire, with scattering and tempest and hailstones." And this is the judgment at the end of the Great Tribulation. I want to read that to you, if I may. Chapter 16 of Revelation, we're looking for the seventh seal, the last of the seals, the last of the seal judgments. Remember, no. The vial, the seventh vial. First there are seven seals, and they're all judgments, and then there are seven trumpets, and they are all judgments, and then there are seven seals, and at the last seal is where we're going to be talking about. And I think I will read you about the sixth seal, just for good measure, because it even more firmly sets the timing, because it's going to be this, then this, and now. Good morning, my dear brother Chris. God bless you. In verse 12, chapter 16, Revelation, "And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared." Think India, China. "And I saw the three unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, out of the mouth of the beast, out of the mouth of the false prophet." So you got kind of an unholy trinity there with the devil, the dragon. He is the God the Father, imitator of God the Father. And the mouth of the beast. The beast is an imitator of God the Son. And the false prophet is an imitator of God the Holy Ghost. "For they are the spirits of devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of the great day of Armageddon." Remember Psalm 2. "Why do the heathen rage, and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel against the Lord and against his anointed and against his Christ. Behold, I come as a thief," Jesus says. "Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame." And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon, the Mount of Megiddo, the hill of Megiddo, literally the hill of slaughter. The seventh vial. This is the seventh last plague of the 21 judgments. 7 seals, 7 trumpets, 7 vials. Here's the last vial before the Battle of Armageddon. "And the seventh angel poured out," this is verse 17, chapter 16, Revelation. "And the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air. There came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, It is done. And there were voices and thunders and lightnings. And there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth. So mighty an earthquake, and so great. And the great city was divided into 3 parts. The cities of the nations fell, and great Babylon came into remembrance before God, to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. And there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. And men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great. That sets the timing of this. The armies gathered together to face the mighty one of Israel. and he comes forth in his glory. He causes this fire and scattering and this tempest and these hailstones. And that sets it right at the end of the Great Tribulation, the destruction of Babylon, the defeat of the beast and the false prophet and all their armies at the battle of Armageddon. Now, verse 31. For through the voice of the Lord shall the Assyrian be beaten down and smote with the rod. Who is the Assyrian? Well, many men smarter than I am claim that there's going to be an Islamic Antichrist, a Muslim Antichrist, and that the beast system is going to be a caliphate. This is not true. The Bible teaches plainly that that the Antichrist will be a Gentile. What? I thought he was a Jew. No, you see, regrettably, that is also false. In chapter 9 of Daniel, in the last week of the 70 weeks, when the Messiah is cut off, verse 20, chapter 9 of Daniel, because Daniel prophesied of this time. He gave an outline of the rise, the reign, and the fall of the beast, of the Antichrist. Chapter 7, 9, 11 of Daniel. You can't understand anything in the New Testament except you must be born again. You can't understand what anything means unless you understand the Old Testament. A working knowledge of the Old Testament is necessary for your fulfillment in Bible study. It is essential for you to understand eschatology. You see, if you get Jesus wrong, you get all of it wrong. If you can get Jesus right, you can get Israel wrong. If you get Israel wrong, you get the rest of it wrong. Heads up. This is dangerous information. Handle with care. And whilst I was speaking and praying and confessing my sin and the sins of my people Israel and presenting my supplication before the Lord my God for the holy mountain of my God, he was captive and living in Babylon. Servant and counselor to the king. He was kind of like the prime minister of Babylon. And whilst I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, angel Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me at about the time of the evening oblation. And he informed me and talked with me and said, O Daniel, I am now come forth to give thee skill and understanding. At the beginning of thy supplications the commandment came forth, and I am come to show thee, for thou art greatly beloved. Therefore understand the matter and consider the vision. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon the holy city to finish the transgression. 70 weeks, 70 sets of sevens, 70 sets of 7 years. And to make an end of sins, and to make a reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up the sum and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. And the street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the prince and the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be a flood, unto the end of the war and desolations that are determined. The people of the prince that shall come, the prince that shall come during Messiah's time, the prince that will kill Messiah, the people that would kill Messiah, Jesus, the people who crucified Jesus, the people who would destroy Jerusalem in 70 AD, the people who would burn the temple in 70 AD, the people who would burn Jerusalem and take 1.5 million Jews captive in 70 AD, and the same people that would come a few years later in 125 AD under Hadrian, the Roman emperor, and plow out the Temple Mount and build a temple to Jupiter. They're the Romans. They're nobody else. The Roman Empire. Not an Arab, not an Iranian, not a Muslim. To think that there would be a Muslim ruling in Jerusalem, making peace with Jerusalem and setting up himself to worship in a Jewish temple. No Jew on the face of the earth would accept a Muslim as their leader. It ain't going to happen. And he, the beast, the one that shall come, he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation for cease. For the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured out upon the desolate. Now, this is the abomination of desolation that Jesus speaks of. It happens at the midpoint of the Great Tribulation, 3.5 years in. The Antichrist will come, and he will set himself up in the temple, and he will pretend that he is God, and he will demand to be worshipped as God. Can you dig it? Well, this is why this man cannot be a Muslim. And we know that he is a Gentile because he comes out of the Roman Empire. He is a Roman. Who were the people that destroyed Messiah? Rome. Who were the people who destroyed Jerusalem? Rome. Who were the people that plowed up the Temple Mount? Rome. He will come out of that people and make covenant with the Jews for 1 week. He will confirm the covenant, which always has told me is not exactly a peace treaty. He is confirming something that apparently already is in existence. And I think the covenant that he confirms is the Mosaic covenant. He's going to say, hey, it's okay for you to go ahead and keep and keep worshiping and all that kind of thing. I was just looking at it a second ago. Where is it? Yes, Daniel 9:27. He shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. He confirms something that's already in existence. Now, this is what this Antichrist does. This is why he cannot be a Muslim and he cannot be a Jew, because it is a repeat of what Antiochus Epiphanes did in 164 BC when he slaughtered a pig in the temple and demanded to be worshipped himself as a god. That was a forerunner. And that wasn't what Jesus was prophesying, because that event happened over 150 years before, 164 years before Jesus was born in the manger in Bethlehem. So Jesus could not have been talking about that event for the abomination of desolation, Matthew chapter 24, verse 14. Now, chapter 2 of 1st, 2nd Thessalonians. Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ, and by our gathering together unto him, that you be not soon shaken in mind, nor troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter, as from us, as that the day of Christ is at hand. Well, this is from Susie. I know y'all can read that. You need to read that for yourself. they're teaching children to read and write and cipher in their school, in their church, and in their Sunday school. And now they're wanting to open a school, a real school, and maybe we've been supporting the education of those kids. You might want to read her note, everybody. They do a good work there. Verse 3, chapter 2 of Thessalonians, 2 Thessalonians. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, that the man of sin should be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God. So see, the temple has to be rebuilt. There has to be a temple for him to sit in it, showing himself that he is God. Remember ye not that when I was with you, I told you these things? And now ye know what withholdeth that he should be revealed in this time. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work, only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, battle of Armageddon, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all powers and signs and lying wonders. You see, if the Assyrian is not the Antichrist, because the Antichrist is a Gentile, not only that, the Antichrist is a Gentile from Rome, the Roman Empire. Rome reached to Babylon, but it could never secure Babylon, and it withdrew. Tried 3 times. Their supply lines were just strung out too far. Rome never reached Nineveh. The Assyrian capital was Nineveh. So you see, good morning, Travis. Good morning, Teresa. God bless you all. So who is this Assyrian that he's going to beat down? Well, first I want to read these 2 verses, and then I want to tell you, we'll talk a little bit about this Assyrian. A lot of people have assumed that he is the Antichrist. Joel Richardson, Joel Rosenberg, several other people. There are several people of Arab descent who have become Christians that believe it's going to be the Mahdi, the next one to come, the next prophet, the 12th Mahdi. None of that is true. Now, these are godly men, but they have this wrong. I'm just a country preacher, and I don't have anything on my side except the word of the living God. That's all I got. And I'm not writing a book. I'm not supporting myself off of this. So I don't have to come up with a claim to make to sell books. I'm just telling you what the word says. And I'm not accusing those men of doing that, but what I'm saying is that you can have all the education in the world and still be wrong about something. Look at the people who run our government, the people who run our education system, and the people who run our major corporations. They all went to the right schools. They went to the right prep schools. They went to the right universities. They went to the right law school or medical school. They did everything right. They had all the advantages. They did all the good stuff. They had rich daddies in most cases. I got none of that. All I have is the word of the living God, the risen Christ, burning in my heart. And I will tell you exactly what it says. So how can I say they're wrong if they're smarter than I am and better educated? Because the Bible does not agree with what they teach. That's why. And they are godly men. And they would say, well, Jimmy, he's a Christian. If they knew me, they would say, Jimmy, he's a Christian and he's my brother, but he's wrong about eschatology. Well, I don't think so, and obviously they don't think so either. So I'm not going to besmirch their character. They're good men. They love Jesus. I just believe they're wrong about how it's all going to wind up. And through the voice, verse 31, chapter 30 of Isaiah, verse 31, for through the voice of the Lord shall the Assyrian be beaten down, which smote with the rod. And in every place where the grounded staff shall pass, which the Lord shall lay upon him, it shall be with tabrets and harps, and in battle shaking will he fight with it. Okay, God is going to destroy the Assyrian great, but is the Antichrist the Assyrian? No. I'll read you another verse before I explain myself. Let's go to Micah. We love Micah, don't we? Yes, we do. Micah chapter 5, where we have that marvelous verse that tells us where the Lord Jesus is going to be born. Chapter 5. I'll just read this quickly because it thrills me. Verses 1 and 2. Now gather thyself in troops, O daughter of troops. He hath laid siege against us, and shall smite the judge of Israel with a rod upon the cheek. But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me, that is to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have been from old, from everlasting. That's the Son of God, the pre-existent Son of God, the God who is Alpha and Omega. He's the beginning and the ending. He has no beginning and he has no ending. Now, when he's talking about the time when he will return, and it says, and he shall stand and feed in the strength of the Lord, in the majesty of the name of the Lord his God, and they shall abide. For now shall he be great unto the ends of the earth. Now, this man shall be the peace when the Assyrian shall come into our land, and when he shall tread in our palaces, then shall we raise against him 7 shepherds and 8 principal men. Remember, there was a beast with 10 horns, and there came up another little horn. Daniel, and in Revelation there came up another little horn, and he subdued 3 of the kings. So he controlled those 7 kings and was the head of those 7 kingdoms. And so here it is. It says that when they shall raise up against him 7 shepherds and 8 principal men, the 7 crowns that remain and the 1 little crown, or 7 horns that remain and 1 little horn. And they shall lay waste the land of Assyria with the sword, and the land of Nimrod, and the entrances thereof. Thus shall he deliver us from the Assyrian when he cometh out of our land. And the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of many people as a dew, and the remnant of Jacob among the Gentiles in the midst of many people shall be regathered. And it shall come to pass in verse 10 that there's going to come a day when he's going to cut off everything that comes against Jerusalem. Now, what he's talking about here when he's going, again, the seven kings and the 7 shepherds and 8 principal men, that's the 7 horns and the little horn. And that's the beast that rises up out of the sea in Revelation chapter 13. It is the beast that Nebuchadnezzar sees in chapter 2. It is the beast of Daniel. It is the beast that Daniel dreams of and describes to us. It is the beast of the end time. So how is the Assyrian destroyed? Okay, well, first, God destroyed the Assyrian by Babylon in 634 BC. And then there were many Assyrian generals and politicians that allied themselves with Babylon, and they were with Babylon when they took Jerusalem in 586 BC, but they were also still with Babylon when the Persians and the Medes came and they took over. But the Assyrians, in this sense, talking about the Assyrian and those from the cities of Nimrod. We have to remember that Nimrod founded two cities. The most famous is Babylon. But north and east of there, and Babylon is on the Euphrates River, north and east of there on the Tigris River is the city of Nineveh. And that's where the Assyrian Empire was headquartered. God will destroy them both because it's all part of Babylon. It's all part of Nimrod. Assyrian here in Isaiah is being used poetically. Child of Nimrod, the Assyrian, because it's all part of Babylon. You see, everything is Babylon. After he left Babylon, he went to Assyria and established that city. Assyria became prominent first. But then Babylon finally took over and has really been with us ever since. But that's the Assyrian, and that's what he's talking about here. One day the Assyrian will be brought down. He will be beaten down. He will be destroyed. Because when God judges Babylon in chapter 17 of Revelation, when God judges Babylon in chapter 18 of Revelation, when God destroys all the armies of the world gathered against him in chapter 19 of Revelation, that's when the Assyrian will finally be destroyed and wiped out. The Assyrian and the Babylonian. Because, see, back about 2,500 years ago, 2,600 years ago, Assyrian Babylon became the same thing. And in reality, they were always the same thing because they both came from Nimrod. They both, Assyria, just like Babylon, started at Babel. And so Nimrod left Babylon. He left Babel behind him and ran up the river and established another city that was just as wicked, Nineveh. So that's what it means here when he's talking about beating down the Assyrian. He will be smote. The Lord shall lay it all upon him. He's going to fight against it. Verse 33, for Tophet is ordained of old, yea, for the king it is prepared. He hath made it deep and large. The pile thereof is fire and much wood. The breath of the Lord, like the steam of brimstone, like a stream of brimstone. You know, the smoking sulfur that burns under the ground. Like a stream of brimstone doth kindle it. Tophet was a spot in the valley of Hinnom, which was a great trash dump, place of burning outside of Jerusalem. They had to walk, when they sacrificed their children, they had to walk through the valley of Hinnom. And that's the same Hebrew word where they get in the Greek, Gehenna, the Gehenna fire, the lake of fire which burneth with brimstone. Which is a trash dump. And that's where they took everything out of the city and burned it. But either coincidentally or not, I don't know whether it was planned, but it's sure a good joke. They had to walk through the stink and the trash and the smoldering fires to get to the place where they would sacrifice their children in Isaiah's day to their gods of Baal, Molech, and Chemosh, the abomination of the Ammonites. So in a sense, they had to walk through hell to sacrifice their children. Remember, God destroys the covenant people and judges the covenant people for three reasons only, and they're always the same. One, they go a whoring after other gods. Two, they sacrifice their children. And three, they believe the lies of false prophets. We're certainly there now. So Tophet is ordained of old. Tophet was the place where they sacrificed their children. A certain place in hell. You see, symbolically, metaphorically, poetically, there's a special place in hell reserved for anybody who sacrifices their children, anybody who kills their children, anybody who slaughters babies. And that's why we're under judgment, ladies and gentlemen. That's the main reason why we're under judgment, is because we have soaked the ground of this country with innocent blood. Not so much in the abortuaries anymore, but it comes through the mail and they take a pill and the baby dies. God will not allow us to keep killing children. He just will not allow that to continue. At some point, he will destroy us, and I believe that he's a long way toward destroying us right now. All you got to do is look out your window and see what things are like. And Tophet is ordained of old. But then it says, yea, for the king it is prepared. And I tell you, any leader that will allow the shedding of innocent blood, his own personal Tophet is in the future. His own valley of Hinnom, his own trash heap, his own garbage. Dump. His own burning, dirty diapers laying out there in the field. Those plastic diapers that just never go away. They just burn. Tophet. They walk through hell to Tophet, where they sacrifice their children. As a country, we've walked through Tophet. We've walked through hell to get to Tophet. We've walked through the valley of Hinnom. We have walked through hellfire and ignored the warning to sacrifice our children. How much longer can it go on? That's a rhetorical question, of course, because I don't know how long it'll go on. But I guarantee you that it won't go on for long. You see, the Lord is not slack, as some men count slackness, but is long-suffering to usward, and not willing that any should perish, but that all would come to repentance. And that is why we hadn't burned up yet. But it's coming. The judge of all the earth will do right. If he judged before, he'll judge now. Get your house in order. Prepare to meet your God.